Okay, it's March the 19th of 2025, approximately 10 a.m. It appears that we have 7 members live at the meeting and 1 member virtual, so I'll turn it over to Executive Director Paul.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Let's start with the opening prayer. We have our Vice Chair here, if you do the honor.
Let's pray, everybody. Heavenly Father, we come to you this morning with thanksgiving and praise for you. We thank you for every person here today. We thank you for those joining in virtually. And Lord, we just trust you and thank you in advance for what you have in store for us. Again, we ask for your blessings in our work. We thank you for our employment. We thank you for the mission at hand. And we ask you to open doors that only you can. And Lord, would you help us as we go through day to day, as we study these cases, and would you help all those involved, no matter what their situation. And we give you praise and glory, thanking you in advance for the good fellowship and outcomes of today's meeting. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Dunn?
Sure.
Okay, let's do a quick roll call. We'll start with the chair to my right, and then we'll go counterclockwise if that's okay.
Sherry Bass, the President.
Lee Clay, present.
Mike Dunn's present.
Dale Carr, present.
Betsy Wiseman, present. Mary Karpos, present.
Wanda Lindsay, present.
Mike Sharon, virtual.
Great, okay. We'll move on to the next agenda item, review of the previous minutes from the last meeting. And I'll just make a quick note about that. One of the things we're going to discuss today is an item that we discussed at the last meeting. So there will be some discussion about that, but I think we accurately recorded what we discussed at the last meeting, and that's been distributed and posted. So if everybody is okay with those, I will entertain a motion to approve those previously recorded and distributed minutes.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Okay, motion passes. Great. All right, moving on. Let's do a quick rundown of the past month. Want to thank everybody for all their help with the legislative matters that we've had to deal with for the past 30 days. As everybody knows, the session is still happening, and we've had some great discussions with some legislators and some of our appointing authorities. So we've really taken that opportunity to tell our story and explain our narrative and get some feedback on how we're doing. So that's contributed to a busy 30 days. But again, thank you everybody for all the help with that. We were able to distribute 1,359 cases for initial review last month. I know everybody's working hard on those February cases, so thank you for that. I'll give a shout out to our new executive assistant. Well, she's not so new anymore, but Tammy's been working hard on some ADA stuff. In fact, she's in a meeting right now doing that. And she's also been working on some victim advocacy stuff. So I don't know if everybody had the opportunity to watch the Finance Ways and Means Committee that we were able to present at a couple of weeks ago. But one of the questions that we got was if and how we are trying to do a little bit more victim advocacy and outreach work. And so I've spoken with Tammy. She's going to be reaching out to each of the DA's offices for each of the counties across the state to introduce ourselves. She's going to be getting some contact information for all of their victim advocates. She's going to be talking with them about what we can do to support their work. But I would also encourage all the board members in their respective communities to, if they happen to know the victim advocates right now, then reach out to them directly or reach out to the DAs. Just let them know that we're here, that we want to hear from victims on the work that we're doing. We want to tell our story. We want to give them our contact information, my contact information, the website, et cetera. And we want to build that into the things that we're doing on a week-to-week basis. So Tammy's going to be working on some of that. I'm going to be working on some of that. But anyone else who wants to work on that, I think it was a good question. And I think it's something that we can certainly incorporate as we move forward. We sent over to the Department of Corrections 11 cases that we re-adjudicated last month, which came out to a reduction in 108 months or 3,240 days, an increase in sentence time for offending inmates. So that was great. And we were actually able to give one inmate some time back. So we returned 12 months or 360 days to an inmate last month as well. So some really good work last month. I know we're gearing up for a big meeting today where those numbers are going to increase exponentially, but really proud of what we were able to do last month and how far we've gotten in the last 12 months or so. So those are the updates. Any questions? Great. Okay, moving on to outstanding matters. We still have a few outstanding matters. Tammy, again, is still working on a finalized contact list for the institutional investigators and wardens. We have renewed our request for training materials for the disciplinary board sergeants. We've renewed our request for the most updated sentencing manual. We're still asking about an outside prosecutions list. We've got some outstanding requests for additional information on specific cases that the board members have asked about. So we continue to engage with the Department of Corrections on getting that stuff. Ms. Carr.
Yes, Mark, could we, and one thing we've been asked is to keep a chronological order of what we've been doing. Could we, when we ask for something, can we put it down and then go back, we go back and we ask for it again? Can we see the time frame and all like that?
Absolutely.
And see how it's going? Because that's the one thing that I was hit with is, okay, tell me when you did this, when you did that.
Absolutely.
If that happened and when it happened, okay?
Absolutely.
So let's try to keep a chronological order of when we make requests and everything instead. Then if we have to make another request, how long was it before we had to make the second request and everything? Because we have to keep that in mind. That's one thing I was asked. Okay?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I think it's a fair question. And we'll be, now that we've been able to make some significant and substantial moves towards some of the mission accomplishment that I think we've been trying to do. Those types of things where we can clean up some of the organizational stuff, I think is very doable. So by all means. Okay, any questions about that or any other outstanding matters that I didn't hit on that people need to hear about in the next couple of weeks? Okay, great. Okay. If you look at the second tab in your notebooks, you'll see that we are introducing into the record for the month of January 616 cases that have been approved for initial review and inclusion as procedurally accepted into the record. So thank you, everybody, for that. And we'll continue to increase those numbers as people finish up their January and February cases.
Mr. Stone,
Yes.
what does that mean total for the year 503?
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? That should actually be 616. I updated this yesterday with the newest numbers, and the old number was 503. So the total for the year now is up to 616. So that didn't match. Apologize for that.
And this is total we reviewed.
These are the total that we have accepted as we marked them basically okay in our spreadsheets. And we said, we're not going to do any further review. We've done an initial review of these, on an individual member basis. The individual member having conducted the initial review believes this case is okay and doesn't require, further review. And that's what those numbers reflect. So as a month goes by and you finish up the spreadsheet and then send it to me, I sort the cases by okays. I calculate that number that the individual members have decided can be submitted into the record, and that's where those numbers show up. So sometimes you'll see someone may not be finished with their January cases yet. So next month you might see that January number increase from 616 to something else because I was able to get someone else's January numbers, and then I include those in there.
But they don't obviously include the ones that we're going to ask to.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. So if there's no questions about that, we will move on to our next agenda item. And that one is a discussion. This is what I alluded to earlier. Last month at the public meeting, we discussed utilizing the new TDOC matrix to consider the cases for February, March, and April for a 90-day period. When we had that discussion, we talked about version 1A of that matrix. And so if you go to your notebooks and you look at the third tab, if you go to the second page of that third tab and you look on the bottom, it says version number 1A, August 2024. When we were at the last public meeting, that's the matrix we were discussing. As of January of this year, though, the prior page shows version number 3, which is substantially similar to the second page. But We're just going to make sure that we clarify the differences between version 1A that we discussed and version 3. And to do that, I'm going to turn the floor over to Dr. Carpos, if you don't mind.
Sure, absolutely. So this is just a minor point of clarification, but just so we're on the same page and the public record is clear, we had previously been discussing the August 2024 version. And that version includes a phrase that is not the one that was actually written in the policy. It includes the phrase, and we had some discussion about it, that up to 60 months on certain types of cases would be seen as fitting within the parameter of the matrix. But the actual one, which you'll see is version number 3, January 2025, omits that phrase. So that's really the only difference between the two operationally, because later on in the matrix, it says, of course, any board member or any D board member, given certain circumstances, could suggest something outside of the matrix. So it's just a point of clarification. That's all it is.
Now, what do we want to do about that? Do we want to provide a new motion that says we're accepting the January version 3 for the next 90 days? Or are we satisfied that everybody understands where for the next 90 days, we're going to be utilizing version 3 for our reviews?
I mean, I think that's because we recognized the differences within 24 hours of the last public meeting. So all of us on the board have been aware of that and have been, to my knowledge, utilizing the matrix as the version that we've now described. We just want to be sure the public record is clear.
Great.
On that.
Great.
I don't think there's any motion needed. Myself personally, we're going to use the January 2025, move on. And if we want to give somebody 60 months, we have the power to do that.
Great.
And so we can move on.
Okay.
We see how it's been going this month anyway.
Yeah.
All right. That works for me. I think that's wonderful.
If everybody's okay with that.
Yeah, if everybody's okay with that, then we can move on to, was that all, Dr. Carpos, on that? On that point? Okay, well, great. Let's move on to the next agenda item. And I'm going to keep it with Dr. Carpos. She has brought, if you look at the first tab, we'll go to tab number 4, and Dr. Carpos's sub-tab is the first one there. And these are the cases that she's going to be introducing for re-adjudication. Dr. Carpos, the floor is yours.
Okay, so adhering to the matrix that went into effect on February 1st from TDOC and comparing D board decisions that were made on incidents that occurred in February. Through random distribution, I received 219 disciplinary hearings that I reviewed. 52 of those resulted in a dismissal, so about 24%, and about 14% or 31 of the cases out of the 219 actually complied with the matrix. But there were 86 cases, about 39% of the 219 did not comply with the matrix. And so what I have on my docket are 82 cases where not enough time was taken according to the matrix. And I also have 4 cases where more than what the matrix would allow was taken. So I have 86 cases total. And I did plan on going through each and every one. When you go down the docket, you'll certainly see the column of how many previous they had, what the D board took away in terms of sentence credit, and then according to the matrix, given how many priors they had, what should have been taken away. So I would just ask that the board accept my docket of 86 cases, and I would love to hear a motion accepting that.
Second.
And I would just clarify that, for the benefit of the public, these have all been previously distributed. And so everybody's had an opportunity to take a look at them individually. Hopefully everyone's not seeing these for the first time. So that's why, I do think it's a really good idea to just move forward with them involved. Now, Dr. Carpos, did you say you had 84 for 86?
I have 86 total. 82 of them are ones where the matrix didn't take enough time. And then there are 4 where the matrix was exceeded and I couldn't see a reason why to exceed the matrix. So that would be a restoration of time on the final 4 on the docket.
Okay, can we, just for 1 second, so on your matrix on the last page, you said there were 4 that were giving time back?
Correct.
Are there 5 on that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for the correction. Sorry. I missed the one in South Central.
Okay, so it'd be
Thank you.
82 plus the 5 we're giving, so
It'd
that'd
be
be
81.
81 and 5. Got it.
81 and
Got it,
5.
81.
Thank you.
Okay.
81.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So we have a motion to move into the record and provide TDOC with these updated corrections as outlined in Dr. Carpos's matrix for a total of 86 cases. And who was this? Who offered the motion?
I did.
Okay, Mr. Frank, seconded by Chairman Bassfinder. Any discussion?
I just want to make a point that Dr. Carpos is excellent work. I love how it's graphed and formatted here. And I want to add the encouraging point to everyone that for the sake of time, when things aren't previously distributed, I do respect the method of the Tennessee legislature when they have a consent calendar. When there's so much material, it's passed out ahead of time. When the material comes up, if there's no objection, to approve it by consent. And I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
So this is extremely specific. It's explained very well. And I think we should just move on like a train.
Okay. I just want to give our online member, Mr. Sharon, do you have anything you want to add? I don't want to keep you excluded.
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, and I just do want to emphasize for everybody, as we go through these, if there is a case, that people do want to discuss, by all means, let's take that out and talk about that. Otherwise, we'll do exactly what Vice Chair was saying. We'll just approve them all. But I don't want anyone to think that they then can't, talk about something they do want to talk about just because we're moving them to the point. So, okay, so we are going to move for approval of Dr. Carpos's matrix in full. Any objection? All approved, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, motion passes. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Carpos. Yeah, I would certainly echo Mr. Dunn's comments. I think the presentation there is really good. We haven't necessarily standardized how we're going to present our cases for a consent calendar or in bulk. So I would encourage everybody to take a look at the different options that we're going to see throughout the day, and then maybe, talk a little bit more about what everyone thinks is the best option, and then we can all just share a standardized approach to that.
I think Mr. Frank's is really nice.
It is, it's very nice. Yeah, I would go with that one as well.
Well, don't you make an Excel sheet?
I can, so that was the thing, and I don't want to go too far. We can certainly talk about this more. But yeah, once I get some feedback from people like, hey, I really liked it this way, I can do something that's standardized. I just don't want to standardize something and then someone else as well, I want to include something different or whatever. So, I look forward to having that discussion with you. But yeah, when that's been decided, I'll put something together and then distribute it so that we're all working off the same thing.
His wife has got bionic eye.
I don't mind. I think it's just the way it's printed because I can't read this either. I'm like, oh. But I just did mine like in an email.
And it's great. I mean, basically what we did for this one was to take how you sent it to us so that we can look at some, how people feel comfortable. And then we'll take the best of everybody's and make one thing. So just as we go through these, think about that because I'll probably be asking everybody their thoughts after the meeting. Mr. Frank.
I would like to ask if sometime, maybe next week, or in the next couple of weeks, maybe we have a meeting, a Teams meeting concerning some of these issues, like how it needs to look and hash out, because we are all different. We make different decisions. Some are, Mary's might be a little different. Mine, we're in the same matrix, but and I don't know if we need to have that discussion. I'm just putting
It'd
that
be
out
nice
there.
for us all to do it the same way. Maybe we could vote on it.
Yeah, yeah.
If everybody would like that, or we can all be individuals, so
Well, I was
that's fine.
thinking-
I just thought maybe
Yeah,
sometime in the next 2
well,
weeks.
we do have on the agenda, a closing notes portion, and maybe during the closing notes portion, we can talk about our next, setting up our next meeting, if that works.
Thank you.
Okay, but we are, moving along, quite well, which is wonderful. So I'm gonna offer that we not break for lunch at this time and just keep moving forward. So our 1 o'clock discussion item was gonna be led by Ms. Wiseman. And if everybody turns to, Ms. Wiseman's tab in their notebook, they'll see her cases, that she previously distributed and will be presenting for re-adjudication. And you have the floor.
Okay, well, hopefully everybody got the email I sent on Monday, because it was much larger font than this is. But, it's 28 cases, 28 incident. And I'm asking to withdraw, these are January reviews. I'm not done with February yet, but, I'm asking to increase the time taken on all of them. Some of them have co-offenders, so there's a few on this number. There's one that had several. It was one of those cases where they just say, all these offenders tested positive for drugs, and they just group them all in one incident, which I don't know why they do that, but, so I like to go through and look at, obviously, their prior A's, and then I look at like what they're serving time for, how much credit they have, and I make little notes about all that, just to get a feel for how serious it is. And so, yeah, I mean, did anybody have any questions? I know it's hard to read here, but hopefully.
Move for consent, move for adoption by consent.
Second,
Well, I did have one question. So when you were looking at changing the time, were you using the new matrix or
Old matrix.
the old matrix? Got it.
This is
Okay.
January.
Yeah, I just
Yeah,
wanted
I
to
should have
clarify.
said it.
Yes, yeah. Okay, that was the only question I had.
For clarity purposes, Mr. Water, you say you want to take time away from all of them?
Mhm.
Okay.
Like I know Ms. Carpenter had a few, she was restoring time.
Yes, so I just want to make sure I heard you correct.
Any other questions? Okay, great. Well, we have a motion to, move for approval. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Wiseman. Really appreciate it. And again, I just commend everybody for all the work they've been doing, especially this past month. I mean, this is a lot of time and a lot of cases, and I'm just really impressed with everyone's ability to, look through these and, and get all this done. So, again, okay, let's keep moving along. Our next presenter is Chairman Bassbinder, and the next tab is Chairman Bassbinder's. And I'll let him walk through, his matrix.
the January cases are not in there.
The January cases are not in there. Only the February cases are in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did everybody see the 7 that I sent out?
Yeah.
It was 7 cases in January. And I listed the priors, and I'm requesting, that all of them is increased to 3 months, taken away. They were from Morgan County and Riverbend.
So everybody got those 7? And had a chance to look at them? Okay. Is there a motion to, move those 7 into the record?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on those 7 in January? Chairman Bassbinder's recommendations? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Great. Okay, those 7 are approved and will be sent over to TDOC with the re-adjudications. Chairman, I think you still have February cases to bring, right?
Yes, sir. My February cases are like Dr. Carpos's. If you look at the list in the booklet, starting at Bledsoe, those are cases that require additional time. They're all based off the new matrix and the number of priors. And it's total of 158, 585 total months taken. And then there is some credit given back, and the amount of 12 months that is given back on the last of the sheet. Everybody's had it, look at it. It's all by the new February matrix.
Looks there a motion to move all of them, or with the ones where you're taking time different from the ones you're granting time?
Either way, if you want to do a motion to approve the time taken away or all.
Motion to approve the report.
Okay,
Second.
seconded. All right, so we have a motion for all of the incidents you see before you, for adjudication as recommended by the chairman and moved into the record. Any discussion, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you, sir. We will get those,
I do have a problem with the next one. I can understand.
okay. All right, moving on to the next agenda item, which is actually our 2 o'clock item, but I think we have time to hear it now.
Sure.
I'm gonna give the floor to Mr. Frank, and his tab follows, well, his tab is after 5, and then you'll see a sub-tab with Mr. Frank's information on it. The floor is yours, sir.
Pursuant to new TDOC 502.02 matrix, I am requesting that I have 73 inmates that will have time increased, and I have 9 that are on the bottom that will be decreased. Pursuant to the new matrix.
Okay, and again, all these were previously distributed, right, Mr. Frank? So
Yes.
to look at them.
I sent them out
Okay,
a couple days ago.
okay.
Motion to approve the report.
Second.
Okay, any questions or any discussion on Mr. Frank's report?
What is the B on the left-hand column?
Those were previous members. I was just trying to
Okay,
make
you were
sure.
distinguishing which were your.
I was doing hers, yeah, when I was typing them
Okay.
in, so you knew,
Okay, I just did on mine.
just so you knew that,
Which one?
well, when I was typing them in, so I didn't double them up.
And the date is the incident date, right?
Yes, the date is the incident date, and, the name was supposed to be redacted, but,
Yeah, it just didn't happen. But that's okay.
won't be showing public anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions or points of clarification? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, thank you, Mr. Frank.
I did have another case that I really wanted to take that needs to be adjudicated. It's not, I don't know if everyone got it. And I should have had it up on the screen. If you saw it, it was a serious enough case where it was an AOW.
The one you sent separately?
Yes, ma'am. In Trousdale. Teeth were broken out. Injury put on a stretcher, put into an ambulance, and were followed to the hospital. And they both only had 2 previous A's in the last 18 months, so they're not cheats and cheats of A's. And I've thought about this when I requested 9 months additional because there was no time taken for both. And I'll entertain more if need be, the more I've thought about it because it was very violent. And
So there's a previously distributed incident with 2 inmates that everyone should have received. And the recommendation was originally 9.
on the weapon, it says a food tray and a homemade weapon is what it says as far as what was used.
And under the new matrix with 2 prior A's, what is that? 4 to 8?
But is this January?
This is January.
This is January.
No,
so
this
it's
is my
on
January.
matrix.
Oh,
It's-
okay.
It's the one I had from January. And
So 15 months
Right.
with 2 is possible, 0 to 15
Right.
months.
Actually, with an AOW, it could go more. But
That's the one it can go.
I think, and I'm gonna leave it if the board feels that 9 is sufficient for both, which is a substantial amount of time, then I'm perfectly okay with that. But as I thought about it and the violent nature of it,
They knocked his teeth.
Keith
I'd
and,
say
and there
at least
was,
15.
yeah.
He had to be taken away in an ambulance. I mean, you know, he was pretty well.
Did he give any description and circumstances? We know too.
It did not.
Okay.
And so that's,
So is there a motion for the 9 months or?
there is a motion for the 9 months. That's what I sent out and that's what after studying it, I felt was sufficient, but maybe I shouldn't have done it this way, but I will entertain if we feel that it's more substantial.
Okay, so there's been a motion presented to take away 9 months from both inmates on that particular incident. Is there a second?
I would think, more of a reduction in credit would be warranted because not only the violence, but because of the weapons weapon.
Right.
And, yes, that, bodily harm was intended. And, death could have resulted had not the incident been stopped. We don't know what the circumstances are, but I would, these are good credits. And it sounds like they're not deserving of any good credits if they're acting like that. So I would go for the max. My recommendation.
Which would be 15.
Yes, sir.
I agree. I mean, that's a criminal law. That would be an aggravated assault.
I will withdraw my motion. And if someone else would like to make a motion on time,
I'll make a motion for 15 months.
I'll second.
Second, great. Any discussion?
Do we know if, I mean, we never do, I guess. Do we know if the prosecutors can indict those?
it did not say. It didn't say anything about outside prosecution.
But we are getting our list soon. So
We, as soon as,
Well, I've heard you-
a relative term, it has been requested. Truth be told, the first time we requested that was at the warden's meeting in October. And we were told that it's a quarterly report is produced and that we would get it. That request has been renewed intermittently. It will be renewed again. So,
you said finalizing, so I didn't know if that meant we had gotten something.
we have not gotten that.
What? Recently?
Well, we can address that, but is there any other
I
discussion
know,
on the
I'm
motion?
sorry.
And to add to my motion, should there be any other circumstances we don't know of yet, the appeal process invites the inmates to offer that in rebuttal of our decision in case they were being attacked or whatever the circumstance could be that we just don't know.
I'll add my second to that.
Like that.
Okay.
If you permit me, I can get here real fast. I hadn't, I was not going to present this case, but I didn't want time to, if you give me just 1 second.
We'll just go back to your question, Ms. White. It's not that we've been explicitly denied some of these things, but the way that our communication goes with the Department of Corrections is it's funneled through certain people, and those people have jobs, and so it's all about motivating those people to make our request a priority. And
But I would think that emailing a list of names, emails
I don't.
for 6 months, how?
That's the reason I said we need chronological order, because if we get 2 or 3 times on that, then that shows a pattern that they're not giving us any information.
100%. So, you're right. It would seem to be an easy request to satisfy. And it has not explicitly been denied, but it has not explicitly been satisfied either. And so, we continue to engage.
Did they respond and say we're working on it?
So for example, at the warden's meeting, when we were told we would get it, I thought we would get it. And then some time goes by and there's a reminder sent out, hey, we talked about this. We said we have it, we didn't get it. Oh, I didn't have it on my list. Let me look into it. And then time goes by, hey, do you have that? Oh, I wasn't able to find it. I need to continue to talk to somebody, or, hey, why do you guys need that anyway? So it's more along those lines where it's much more discussion than you would think would be necessary.
Right.
But it's
I mean, I
part of the,
feel like we're gonna abuse it. It's just in situations like this, it's so easy to email and
I
say,
mean, you're,
If we have a steel picture of all that, I think too.
see what it was. I mean, you know.
And, I see, Mr. Sharon's hand. Yes, sir, you have the floor.
I could withdraw this.
Hey, Mike, have we thought about a FOIA request?
We have not gone that route, yet. I'd certainly be open to that if we wanted to, try a different maneuver in order to get the information. I would be fine with that if the board doesn't mind me going that route. Are you in favor of that, Mr. Sharon?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I just think it's a little silly that they haven't given it to you yet. And certainly those records are public. So just an idea, something to think about.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Frank?
I was just gonna read, Code Blue was called. Responders arrived on scene to find inmate Nelson at the Echo front door with blood on his face and shirt. Inmate Nelson was evaluated and placed on a stretcher. Nurse then advised shift supervisor to call EMS once in medical. Inmate Nelson was evaluated with lacerations, bruising on the body and face, and several teeth missing. Inmate Nelson was transported to Sumner Regional Hospital via EMS. Number 10, with Correctional Officer Moonby providing escort and Correctional Officer Barman providing chase and facility van, 1752.
I mean, that is a very serious assault. Several teeth missing.
Yeah,
Foot laceration.
but yeah, foot laceration.
So I stand by the motion.
Okay, any other discussion? I think we're ready to move to a vote on that. All in favor of Mr. Dunn's motion to remove 15 months from both inmates for Mr. Frank's incident, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, okay. We will make that addition to the report, Mr. Frank, thank you. Okay, it is 11:40. Mr. Sharon, you are next on the docket. If you don't mind, I think we can get yours done before a short break for lunch. Would you mind presenting your incidents?
No, not at all. Hey, good
Okay.
morning again, everyone. Sorry I can't be there in person. So February, I was assigned 150 cases. I reviewed those all except 15 or so that are pending. Of those 66 cases, I determined after careful review were not in compliance with the new TDOC matrix. 62 of those cases you all see before you require additional sentence credit removal, and 4 cases require the reinstatement of sentence credits because they took too much time away. And so the 62 cases, it's 488 months of additional sentence credit removal. And the 4 cases, each one of those cases, it was 1 month, so a total of 4 months to be reinstated.
Make a motion to approve the report.
Okay, the motion has been seconded. Any points of clarification or discussion for Mr. Sharon's report? Okay, hearing none, we can move to a vote for all of the 66 incidents presented. All in favor of approving the recommendations made by Mr. Sharon in his report, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Sharon. Another really good report that was previously distributed. And I think that really helped everybody understand what we were looking at and why the recommendations were what they were. So really appreciate everybody's work on that. We still have some time before lunch, and we have one other discussion agenda item, so we can move forward. Okay, so let's move on to our final discussion agenda item, which is discussion regarding general counsel. And that discussion has been asked to be led by our vice chair, Mr. Dunn. Mr. Dunn, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Executive Director. Just wanted to make a point of order that as we proceed down the road of adjusting good credits with inmates, they just begin to feel the impact of our work. They're going to, as they have started, either try to appeal or try litigation against us, legal matters to try to fight our decisions. And that brings up another issue that we still need general counsel that's independent for our board and for our board only. And it would be helpful, but I know we're limited right now because of the budget uncertainties. And as we get to the end of the session, we're still waiting in a holding pattern. And so really, there's not too much that can be said today anyway, because we're still waiting on the numbers from the legislature to confirm if funding is residual or not, to clarify a decent salary for council that we all know that we could use and we need for several reasons. Whether it comes down to requesting material, so make a legal order from our attorney to request it, and he can stay on top of that, he or she can stay on top of that, or in defense of our actions for legal matters. So everyone knows we're going to need counsel, and we should be just like every other agency in the state that has counsel. We need it as well. So they've given us a job, and as we advance down this path, we're going to need the tools that will help our job be effective and to make our cases have a legitimate effect, and to make our work residual. We need to do our part to make sure it's known and on public record that our request is to the legislature to have funding we need to get the counsel we need, because we do need someone with experience to handle what we need them to handle. So I don't know how much other can be said than that, other than they're waiting, because we're still waiting.
Yes, we are. And I continue to check in with representatives from finance to see if they've heard anything. Certain legislators that I know are trying to promote what we've asked for. There is an amendment process that they still have to go through. I think over the course of this week and next week, they're going to go through that process. So it is a bit of a waiting game to see what becomes finalized. Because as we all know, we do expect to get some more money next year for salaries and positions. But we were granted substantially more money, but that wasn't made recurring. And so it would be dangerous of us to hire someone on a recurring salary without knowing whether or not the additional funding is going to last past July. And so it's a process. And so, I apologize for that, but we are trying to remain as vigilant as we can about getting that answer as quickly as possible.
Sure.
So,
I have nothing to add on that. We're just give it there.
Who decides that? FNA?
So the way it works is there's budget proceedings that happen at the beginning of next year's fiscal year. So in FY 26, they'll start doing budget hearings for FY 27. And at those hearings, you go and you present your ask to FNA. And then FNA sits down with the governor's team and looks at the governor's priorities, and they come up with the governor's budget, and which includes, hopefully, the asks that you wanted to be part of it. That governor's budget is then presented to the legislature, and then that has to be approved. As part of that presentation process, there can be amendments, which can either increase or decrease the governor's proposed funding. So those amendments can come from the governor's side, or it can come from the legislative side. We've presented to both the Senate and the House Finance, Ways and Means Committee on our ask. Finance has approved us, or has included in the governor's budget for next year an additional $179,000 that would be made recurring. But they've granted us a supplemental amount of $208,000, but that $208,000 goes away at the end of this fiscal year in June. And so we have asked the legislature to continue that $208 supplemental throughout the next budget cycle, so that we'll have that available through FY 26. That hasn't been approved yet. So we're waiting to see what happens because we can increase our staffing, but if we want to be prudent, fiscally prudent, then we would have to do that based on what we know is going to happen,
Right.
even though that might be substantially increased within the next couple of weeks or month. And so it's a matter of whether we want to be patient and wait for those final numbers, or if we want to move ahead with what we do know we're going to get, and then maybe we get lucky. So that's kind of how the process plays out. Okay. Well, great. Thank you, Mr. Donna. I appreciate you bringing that up. I think it's an excellent point. And again, as part of the process, it's a little bit frustrating, but I know there's several board members who are working hard to get those answers as quickly as possible and are advocating on our behalf. Behind the scenes, I'm doing that as well. And as soon as I know more, you all will know more. And then, I think we'll be able to move quickly once we do know where we stand. So, okay. If there's nothing more on that, we have two other agenda items. I don't see any members of the public, unless, sir, you have anything you'd like to add. I don't see anyone online, so we will move past the public comment period if that's okay with everybody. And our final agenda item is just closing notes. I don't have anything other than to confirm that our next meeting for our April public meeting, I believe we have scheduled right now for the 9th. So that would be April 9th. Is everybody still okay with that? That'll be about 3 weeks from now. So that won't be a full 4 weeks to do additional cases, but if everybody's okay, yes, ma'am.
I may have to be virtual because I may be
Okay.
traveling. I don't know yet.
I mean, that's fine. But I will keep that as April 9th, unless anyone wants to change it. Okay. And that would put our agenda setting meeting for April 2nd, the Wednesday before. Okay. So we have those two meetings on the docket right now. One of the things that we discussed earlier in the meeting was Mr. Frank's idea about possibly setting up a meeting for next week with the board members to discuss reporting formats. And then possibly introducing some open records requests to the Department of Corrections. Would everybody like to do that now? Would we like to take a look at our calendars and set a meeting up now for next week?
Yes.
I have surgery on Wednesday, so Tuesday would be nice to do that.
Let's
Next
give him Wednesday afternoon when he went
That's
over.
fine. That's fine. You got-
You have surgery on the 26th.
I did.
Okay.
I don't.
So if I could just ask something about, the notion of us all using the same docket or formula.
And we don't have to.
Well, and that's what I was just gonna ask, because everybody hasn't even worked their way through February yet.
Agreed.
So, and you do have surgery, maybe postpone that till, let everybody get at least through 1 month
Yeah.
so that they could contribute whatever their experience has been. And then,
Right.
that's just my only thinking in terms of timing. It's
Right.
just to make sure that everybody's had a first pass at February and then they feel that
And
they,
how they feel like they want to do it, and then we can go, I really like that. Do we need this? And Mike Stahl needs this to send out, because these are a lot of letters.
There are a lot of
A
letters.
lot of letters going out.
But that's okay. Don't worry about that.
I mean, a lot of
You know,
letters are
that-
gonna be
We
going
will, the staff will handle that. But I do see that Mr. Chair has his hand raised.
I like the idea of us all getting on the same page. I mean, I think mine was different than, and Mary and I've discussed this via email. She sent me her matrix or her format. So I like the idea of all us being uniform. I understand what Dr. Carpos is saying about the folks that haven't been through February yet, but I've never liked the idea that there's several of us that do it one way and some of us do it the other way. So I like the idea of all being on the same page.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we set up a meeting? And then when we get to the meeting, we can hear from everybody and the people who haven't maybe brought cases, and they can give their ideas on, I'd like to do it my way, and we can hold off. Or we can see how everyone feels about, we'll let things digest. Everybody take a look at the notebooks and kind of see.
And this
we're just not ready.
could wait until the agenda setting meeting on the following, the second.
Okay.
Second.
Okay,
So
so,
it doesn't have to be next week. I just thought maybe for what the public's seeing. I don't know if does this go on our website? Is this all public information?
Yes, this is still part of the public meeting.
Okay, so this will go on like our graph, and so yes.
Well,
That's
the
because
notebook,
the
the notebook pages won't go on the website.
Oh,
The
okay,
notebook
I thought
pages-
those went on the website.
No, the notebook pages will be kept in the office, and if someone makes a public records request, they'll be available.
Gotcha.
We don't post the notebook pages on the website. The only thing that goes on the website is the meeting minutes, which we record and post for video purposes on the website.
Okay,
And if there's a member of the public that's here, they have access to anything that the board is discussing contemporaneously. So,
I think that's a great idea for it to tag on with the agenda setting meeting, that would be a good time to talk about it. It gives folks who haven't quite gotten there yet a little more time to get there, and that's,
Okay.
yeah.
so we'll make that next meeting, which will be April 2nd, Wednesday, starting at 10 a.m., a dual functioning meeting. Do the agenda setting meeting, we'll pick up some of these points. Now, Mr. Sheeran, you did mention the idea about FOIA requests. Is that okay if we hold off on that discussion until April 2nd?
Sure, no rush, just an idea. Thanks.
Okay?
Could I run,
Yes.
and I'll consult with my assistant here.
okay.
On March cases that Lee pulls the top 7 prisons, I pull the bottom 7. As we pull them, the date of incident is right there when we're putting in the incident number. And the things that Tammy and Mike need to put the information in the TDOC on removing is the date of incident, the incident number, homeless number, the offense number, and the offender's names.
And the
So-
facility.
And the facility, which we pull by facility, and we get the incident number, and which everybody looks up the homeless number, which we put the offense codes. If Lee doesn't mind, we can put the incident date, because we're pulling that right at that minute, right then. And then if everybody start, like in March, as we go on, then when you're doing your case, all you need to do is put the offender's name in there somewhere over to the side, if that would make it easy.
Thanks, Jerry.
Well, and if
No
we
worries.
have, I mean, I don't mind doing it. I don't want to put
I'm
extra
just
work
kidding.
on you.
Right, I
It's-
don't mind
If you don't mind.
It's a date. It's
If you
an
don't mind.
extra 5 seconds.
Yeah, right, it's there,
You know.
right when we do the.
The names,
code.
we really can't, because some will be dismissed, some will be okay, so I don't
We can
think.
do the names, but then are we supposed to redact them? Because I don't know how to.
It's up to you all. Names aren't personal information under the Open Records Act, so we don't have to. But if people are more comfortable going off of the Thomas ID numbers and just numbers, then we can do that. So
I thought,
we
I
had-
thought mine were gonna be redacted.
Yes, so Mr. Lee, Mr. Frank brought cases today, and the intention was, if you look at his matrix, you'll see that there are names on there, but the intention was to have those redacted. So to this point, we have been redacting the names,
Okay.
but it's up to you all how you want to
If
do it.
you need that information to.
Well,
do the
we need
form,
that
I don't
information,
mind putting it in.
we need that information at the end, because Tammy and I, to fill out the forms that we
Right.
send over to TDOC, we need that information. We don't need that information to have the discussion that we
Right.
have here. So what some people have done is they presented their reports, including the names, and then when we put the notebooks together, we just redact the names and put the notebooks together, but we have the names available when we're ready to do the paperwork.
Okay.
So it does help to have the names at some point,
Okay.
but we can also go into Thomas to find the names as well. So if you don't put the names, we can do that. So it's really, again, there's a lot of ways to skin the cat. And I would just, again, the more uniform it is actually that's easiest for us, because then we know what to expect and we can always just be doing things. So, but because we don't have a uniform approach to it, like we're going to talk about, I'll let you all figure out what works best for you, and then the staff will work off of that.
Okay, well, I don't mind pulling the names. But if you want them redacted, you're gonna have to teach me how to.
That's fine. We can redact it. If you send it over to us, we can redact it. That's not a problem.
If we're the only ones seeing it,
We are the only ones seeing it. It's just for the purpose of the notebooks.
oh, okay.
So leave the
So-
names in.
So it's up to you all. It's up to you all. Really, it really is.
I'm gonna tell them about it.
I mean, is anybody opposed to leaving the names in?
Well, we can revisit this at the agenda setting meeting and kind of see what, chew on it, digest it. For this meeting, we've had both. And so we can get to the agenda setting meeting where we're gonna have this discussion again and people can bring their ideas and say, I would rather just include the names in all the documents. And then other people can say, I would rather send the names just to the executive director and staff and then redact it for the person in notebooks. And then we can discuss it.
Right, it was just a mishap.
I mean, it's easier for them.
Excel, I think it's simple. You go and you make it black and then that's simple. I mean, it's like a 10-second.
There's a lot. You can make it black. You can make the lettering white so it blends into the cell. Like there's a lot of ways to do it. So it's really not that big a deal. It does take us a little bit of extra time to go through and find the names ourselves,
Right.
especially when we're talking about this number of cases.
Right.
So having that somewhere is helpful. I will
We'll
say.
definitely do that.
Okay, so we will just notate that the next meeting on April 2nd will be a dual meeting, so that, I have it, the link has it down for an hour, but just so everybody knows, it may go longer than that, because we'll do the agenda study meeting and then have some discussion afterwards. So, why doesn't everybody prepare for that meeting to go from, 10 to 12 or 12:30 or something? Just give yourself enough time that we can talk about all these things at that meeting.
One last thing. When did these go out? I mean, soon?
Yeah,
I mean, next week?
Tammy's already started working on the paperwork. I don't know how she's approaching the paperwork, if she's doing it the same way as a notebook, so she's putting, Dr. Carpus's incidents together, and then we'll send that paperwork out, and then we'll move on, or if she's doing it a different way. But, they're going to go out as quickly as we can put this.
And they go out individual letters to each inmate.
Yes, they go out, letters go to TDOC, the action form goes to TDOC. Then the action form plus the appeal paperwork go to the inmates.
Gotcha.
So there's actually two, for each case, there's two distribution channels.
Gotcha.
So it does take a little bit of time to put that together. So I don't have a date certain as to whether.
I was just
when
curious.
yours might go out
I
or.
know it's a lot.
It is a lot. And so we're just going to try, and Tammy knows that that's a priority for the next couple of weeks. So we're going to try to get them all done, within the next, hopefully, 10 working days, maybe 21. But that's as best a guess as I can.
We want to discuss the change of 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock.
We can probably do that offline. Okay, so, those are all the notes that I have. Does anyone else have anything? Okay, Mr. Sharon, do you have anything else?
I do not.
Okay, Ms. Sharon, if you stay on, we're gonna finish the official portion of the public meeting, but there is one thing that I think the chairman wants to just address with the board members personally. So, if you stay on after the meeting is adjourned for 5 minutes, that would be greatly appreciated.
Sure.
Okay, and that's the agenda for today. I'll turn it back over to the chairman, to adjourn.
Thanks, good.
Motion to adjourn.
I hear a motion to adjourn. A second, all in favor? Meeting is adjourned.
Okay.
I want to say, oh, my.